Straight ahead on 12 News, a turn of events for Tater Daze. What will be different about this year's festival? Plus, a local school district hopes for a state budget breakthrough.
We have cut so much that it's bare bones.
But first, squeezed out of an apartment, the unfortunate consequences of a tight rental market. 12 News starts right now. A tight rental market is forcing more families in Hennepin County to crowd into homeless shelters.
A report released this week shows the Twin Cities apartment vacancy rate stayed below 3%. Meanwhile, the number of homeless families in the county is the highest it's been in 12 years.
We are quite maxed out, and it's been very stressful.
Over the past few years, People Serving People in Minneapolis has taken in a growing number of families apartments stuffed to capacity have turned away.
We're not seeing a significantly greater number of homeless families than we did a year or 2 years ago, but we are in all of Hennepin County seeing longer stays and more frequent visits.
Last year, more than 1,400 families were homeless in Hennepin County, and the average number of days spent in a homeless shelter was 46, a week longer than the average stay reported in 2011. The problem is, there's just nowhere for them to go.
Very low rates for vacancy rates for apartments that are below $1,000 a month. Very low rates for what's affordable. And then we see transportation play into this when what's available is not necessarily in traveling distance from where the jobs are or where kids are in school.
What is available is also becoming more expensive. Average rent in the Twin Cities went up in the last year to $957 a month. Groups like the Minnesota Coalition for the Homeless are working with lawmakers to come up with long and short-term solutions to help families out of this vicious cycle and into their own home.
One thing that we know how to do is to build affordable housing. We know what housing options work in terms of rental assistance and voucher programs. So our short-term emphasis is really focusing on those solutions.
To give you another view of how severe the situation is, the rental vacancy rate in Minneapolis is about 1.8%. That's just behind Manhattan.
A Brooklyn Park man was sentenced today for his role in a deadly home invasion. A judge sentenced Samaj Williams to 38 years in prison. Prosecutors say Williams was a co-conspirator and accomplice in the shooting death of a South Minneapolis homeowner. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office says Williams was one of 3 suspects who wanted to steal money and drugs from a drug dealer's home, but prosecutors say they broke into the wrong house.
It's a day for difficult grocery store news. The parent company of Cub Foods, Super Value, announced today it is eliminating 1,100 jobs, including 600 in Minnesota. The cuts include current jobs and positions that won't be filled. Meantime, the parent company of Rainbow Foods, Roundy's, confirms that its Plymouth store on Rockford Road will close. A spokesperson for Roundy's says the Rainbow store was profitable but lost its lease to a different store. The Plymouth Rainbow is expected to close in May. That's in addition to the Rainbow store in Robbinsdale that's slated to close on April 10th.
Menards and the city of Brooklyn Park have settled their differences over a proposed store makeover. Concerns about the outside appearance of the new store have delayed plans to rebuild. But now Menards has agreed to upgrade the facade by using a mix of materials and colors. City council members say it's much better than the original plan. Menards wants to tear down the store along County Road 81 and put up a new store similar to the one in Golden Valley. A Menards official says it's not clear when construction could begin. One of the biggest summer festivals in the metro will be a bit different this year.
Brooklyn Park's Tater Days will undergo changes, including scaling back the carnival to make room for other events at the Tater Days site. In the future, Tater Days officials will look at moving away from a carnival in favor of family games. But the biggest change this year will be the parade. Instead of a Thursday night event, it's moving to Saturday.
We run a parade on Thursday night, 6 o'clock. People are rushed to get there, can't get there. Bogs down neighborhoods. Traffic is a problem for community groups to come and to get to the parade in time. So we figure let's try it. Let's see what happens. Bring it in on Saturday. People aren't going to be so stressed.
Mayor Lundy says having the parade at noon Saturday will allow parade goers to stick around for other events on Saturday afternoon.
Xcel Energy is scaling back its proposed rate hike, though perhaps not as much as customers would like. Xcel is now proposing an 8% rate hike. That's about 3 percentage points lower than originally proposed. Xcel says the increase is necessary to pay off investments in infrastructure. It would be the 5th rate hike since 2006. The State Public Utilities Commission is expected to decide on the increase in the fall. Well, Governor Mark Dayton's budget plan calls for more money for education.
The plan would allot about $640 million for K through 12 and higher education. Sonia Goen shows us how the numbers break down for the Brooklyn Center School District.
Renee and Mike, there are about 2,000 students in the Brooklyn Center school system. The district spends about $11,000 on each student. The superintendent says that's not enough, and he's hoping the governor's budget plan goes through.
One, we've been underfunded all along, and number two, it's money that's needed.
Brooklyn Center is one of the smallest school districts in the state. Superintendent Keith Lester says funding is small too.
We're in a high poverty area. We have a low tax base. We haven't been able to pass a levy referendum.
Lester says the district dollars are stretched.
We have cut so much that it's bare bones. The staff are doing multiple jobs. The administration's doing multiple jobs.
According to the governor's plan, next year Brooklyn Center would get about $500,000, and the year after that, $1.5 million. What would you do with the money the governor is proposing?
I'd spend it.
He says some of that money would go towards hiring more teachers and reducing class sizes.
We need to have teachers in the classroom who are skilled at the different areas that we need, so that they're coaching in literacy, they're coaching in mathematics, they're supporting beyond just the classroom.
Now, if he spent all the money on teachers, Lester says the district could hire about 9 more teachers next year. But he would also like to add someone the district hasn't had in years, a librarian.
There are a lot of those things, most people will take for granted that we just haven't had.
Lester says the district needs more funding to deal with special challenges.
If it costs more to educate high poverty students, then we should have the revenue to be able to do that.
In Brooklyn Center, Sonia Goins, 12 News.
Last week, House Democrats released a plan that would include $700 million for education over the next 2 years, while the Senate plan calls for nearly $500 million for public education. Still ahead, not the preferred way to get vampire teeth.
No, sports can get a little ugly sometimes, but see the new way dentists are helping athletes preserve their smile. Then later in sports, the Maple Grove softball team is hoping for a return trip to the state tournament this spring. We will preview the team.
But first, it's your AccuWeather forecast.
A new way to buy health insurance will soon hit the market, but will it improve costs?
That's what many small businesses are asking about the new state-run insurance exchange signed into law. State officials estimate that more than 1 million Minnesotans will enroll in health plans using the exchange called MNsure. That includes 300,000 uninsured. The state system was set up after the Federal Affordable Care Act passed 3 years ago. At RJF agencies in Brooklyn Park, it's John McDonough's job to decipher health care plans for businesses. While there's still a lot of unanswered questions about the new system, he says the exchange will provide something Minnesotans haven't seen before.
I think it opens a lot of opportunities for the world of healthcare financing to change and hopefully to improve and try to reduce the overall costs of care for the employers.
MNsure will launch on October 1st. Injuries will always be a part of sports, but occasionally athletes will encounter something really unfortunate when they're hit in the mouth and lose a tooth.
It's an injury that requires an emergency trip to the dentist. And in today's Health Check report, Delane Cleveland shows us a new way to immediately preserve a tooth that's been knocked out.
Baseball players are told to keep their eye on the ball. Sometimes that's easier said than done. Just ask Tom Iverson of Brooklyn Center High School.
You might get a bad hop. You're fielding a ball, and all of a sudden that bad hop just comes and pops you in the mouth.
It's something he's seen a few times with athletes in his 13 years at Brooklyn Center, and the results aren't pretty.
I actually see more chipped teeth and knocked out tooths with baseball and softball than I do with really any of the other sports.
Usually he'd use saline solution or milk to preserve an athlete's tooth.
Both of those things last for about an hour.
However, a local dental practice is now promoting a different method.
We're introducing Save-A-Tooth to youth athletics.
Commercials advertising Save-A-Tooth kits began running during state high school tournaments. They're designed to preserve a knocked-out tooth for up to 24 hours so the athlete has enough time to take it to a dentist.
Time is very critical. The sooner we can see the patient to get it back in, the better the chance of saving the tooth.
That's important, according to Dr. Amber Pearson, because the cost of replacing a tooth could be expensive.
Implants are around $4,000 to $5,000 just, for the one tooth. Whereas if you can get the tooth back in and simply do a root canal for $700 or whatnot, it's a lot. Yeah, and it's your real tooth.
Brooklyn Center is one of many schools around the state to take advantage of a program to receive free Save-A-Tooth kits from Park Dental.
I walked into my athletic director's office, and there they were sitting in my mailbox, and I just said to them, "Hey, you made my day."
The same could be said of any athlete who might lose one of their pearly whites.
I try to prepare for every possible thing that might happen.
In Brooklyn Center, Delane Cleveland, 12 News.
Well, for more information on how to get a free Save-A-Tooth kit, you can find a link on our website. Just go to 12.tv. Well, coming up, the healing power of art on full display in Golden Valley.
But first in sports, a huge honor for a Park Center basketball standout. John Jacobson has that and more when we come back.
Well, John Jacobson with Sports Now, and we're so happy for Quinton Hooker to get named this honor. And I mean, he was the heart and soul of this team.
He really was, and such a nice young man, too, and deserving of this award. Despite a loss in the state final Saturday, it's been a remarkable season for the Park Center boys basketball program. Now the Pirates' top player, Quinton Hooker, has been named Mr. Basketball. Hooker led the Pirates to the Northwest Suburban Conference and Section 5 4A titles this season. He averaged 23 points per game and was often in double figures in rebounds and assists, too. Hooker topped 2,000 points for his career. Getting selected as Mr. Basketball for Minnesota is a big honor for Quinton.
Well, I was very happy and also honored. It's been a long time coming, starting here at 8th grade and then now be Mr. Basketball is something else. I was nervous, of course, because Andre scoring 5,000 points and Graham having a great season too. Same with Riley and Aaron, but I was very happy to hear it.
Hooker will play basketball at the University of North Dakota next season. He is Park Center's first Mr. Basketball winner. In addition to Hooker, we have some other great athletes in the area this winter. Jay Wilcox and I named our all-area teams for girls and boys basketball and hockey this week on Sports Jam. Here's a sample of what you'll see.
Cooper's Rashad Vaughn as college coaches making regular visits to New Hope. The dynamic 6'6" junior led the Hawks to the North Suburban Conference title and was unstoppable as a scorer at 29 points per game with a high of 51 to go along with 10 rebounds and 3 steals per night. He was North Suburban Conference MVP and first team All-Metro.
Oh my goodness! Metro Player of the Year Nia Coffey led Hopkins to a third consecutive Class 4A title. An often dominant player at both ends of the court, the senior averaged 18.5 points per game and over 22 in 3 state tournament games. She'll play college basketball at Northwestern.
Number 9, Danny Cameronese of Plymouth had a dream senior season for Blake. Cameronese led the Bears to the Class A title with an eye-popping 57 goals and 38 assists. Cameronese was named Ms. Hockey and Star Tribune Metro Player of the Year.
Wyzetta's Aaron Dingman enjoyed a great senior season with 18 wins and a save percentage of .922, both single-season school records. Dingman was named All-Lake Conference, first team All-Metro, and was the Trojans' team most valuable player. Watch the rest of the Sports Jam, all-area basketball and hockey teams, and more this week and next on Sports Jam. It's on through Wednesday and next Monday through Wednesday here on Channel 12. With the winter season now complete, spring sports will take center stage when the snow is gone. As Jay Wilcox reports, Maple Grove's softball team is looking for another big season.
They're eager to get started at Maple Grove, and it's easy to see why. The Crimson went all the way to the state Class 3A championship game last season before falling to Stillwater.
I'm so excited. This year is going to be great. We lost a lot of seniors, but we're returning a bunch of kids who have been through the program, and it's just going to be a really fun year.
I feel very confident with the chances for the Crimson. We did lose players from last year, but we didn't lose talent. We have enough talent, and we will be just as good as we were last year, and if not better, to get us to that championship.
Maple Grove returned 6 starters from that tournament team. Players like catcher Jordan Mauk, infielders Brianna Basil and Taylor Bratton, and outfielder Abby Bonnell are back to lead the way. Maple Grove did graduate pitcher Kaylee Sadler, the Metro Player of the Year last spring, but sophomore Sydney Smith is ready to step in, and she has a lot of potential.
Having the Metro Player of the Year on the team is what kept Sydney Smith on the bench last year. Sydney's a sophomore, throws hard, really good composure, plays club ball actually for a team called the Chicago Bandits, so she's down there in Chicago in the off season from us as her regular season, so she's a tremendous athlete.
Teams were on their fields by this time last year. The remaining snow cover is discouraging, but the chance to work in the Maple Grove Sports Dome helps.
It's really nice for us how we can just walk right over here, whereas the other teams, they sometimes have to take buses and stuff. It gives us a lot of extra practice before they even get here.
We get a real good look at kids. We can kind of cover a lot of the things that we want to cover, just like even today we're working on cuts from the outfield and stuff like that, and that's awful tough to do in the gyms and things. So we're ahead of schedule of actually where we want to be.
Watch out for Maple Grove this spring. They're back and as strong as ever. Jay Wilcox, 12 Sports.
Maple Grove is slated to open the season April 10th at Coon Rapids. And for all the spring athletes, that snow can't melt fast enough.
Well, we got to think spring. Everyone has to think spring. All right, thanks, John. Still ahead, overcoming difficult circumstances through a little artistic magic.
We'll be right back.
Finally, a Golden Valley church is featuring artists whose work helps them to connect with their faith.
I think I'm inspired from somewhere, and it's really hard to think that all of this just comes out of my own brain.
Calvary Lutheran Church's Holy Week art show is now in its 12th year. It features the work of a woman who fought cancer and now paints colorful flowers for spiritual inspiration, and the needlework of another woman who rediscovered faith after the death of her son in a car accident.
People that have a knack for art actually have an advantage, I think, because they're able to express some of that deep emotion. And art allows us to bring it out and make it come alive so, one, we can express it and deal with it, and also it's a great way to bring about healing.
The show continues through Easter Sunday.
Yeah, it's a neat show. I mean, they've got all kinds of different things, some pottery and some artwork and some, watercolors and flowers, and it's very, very nice.
Promotes healing.
Absolutely. That's it for now. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
Community Corner is up next.